Why is the appointment of a designer rather than a driver causing such a stir?
Adrian is a big name, obviously, in Formula One, and he's had a nasty habit in his last three teams of being involved in multiple championship-winning chassis and team efforts, 12 constructors, 13 drivers. And, he's known as a bit of a genius in the business, and he sort of tends to bring success along with him. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, but if you're going to have Adrian with you, you need a certain amount of resource and control to go with that to make the best of his skills. But also we have 2026 coming up, which Adrian himself describes as the biggest step change in Formula One history due to the chassis and the aerodynamics and the engines all changing at the same time, the power units, as we like to call them. And so he's a man you'd want on board at that time.
Well, Craig, you're at the team base right now. We're seeing images there of Adrian Newey in his Red Bull gear. Leaving Red Bull for Aston Martin, is that really career progression for Newey?
Yes, on the face of it, it seems like a step down, I suppose, leaving the table toppers to join a mid-table team. But this is a team very much on the rise, bankrolled by billionaire owner Lawrence Stroll, who took over what was Force India. Previously, historically, this has been Eddie Jordan's team, who incidentally has been managing Adrian Newey during this transfer process, we have to call it. But this was a team a few years ago which went out of business. It was officially worthless, I suppose. It went into liquidation. Lawrence Stroll bought it. It is now conservatively worth between £1.5 to £2 billion. They've just had, or are about to have, investment from two major US hedge funds who are going to take a minority stake in this team. Lawrence Stroll has also completely transformed the infrastructure. This new campus behind me includes a brand new wind tunnel. There's a state-of-the-art simulator as well. This is Lawrence Stroll arriving this morning for this news conference. He will parade the man who is without question the star signing he has made the team thus far, and it's a number of big names he's already brought in, including Andy Cowell, who oversaw the Mercedes engine program, Fallows, who was Newey's senior lieutenant as an aerodynamicist at Red Bull as well. So this is a team which, along with Honda power units, which they will take as the work supply from 2026 onwards, thinks it can go and dominate F1. And as Martin has explained, where Newey goes, titles tend to follow.
Yeah, well, Martin, what do you think about how this will impact Aston Martin? Will the arrival of Newey propel them to the front of the grid?
Well, that's a big challenge for a team because, if you've got Adrian Newey on board and you don't win, well, then you've wasted Adrian Newey. If you do win, it's all about Adrian Newey. So it's a problem they have to manage. And I have to say, Red Bull have been extremely good at using the genius of Adrian and compartmentalizing other aspects to make sure they get the best out of him. So, Adrian is 66 years old on Boxing Day. He's got this huge amount of success behind him, as we said, but I'm sure this is probably his last roll of the dice with a big team, and he'll want it to be a great success. And you can be sure, big picture stuff, he's the man you'd want looking at that. Will he be there minute by minute, designing stuff? And of course you have to, a team like Aston Martin will be, like the other big teams, a long way north of 1,000 people. And you've got to make sure you keep those people motivated and incentivized as well, in terms of they don't want to just be bit part players. So it's quite a delicate operation to introduce Adrian into a team like that. But he's worked with Honda at Red Bull. He'll help enormously on that front, as will Andy Cowell, the ex-Mercedes man who's becoming CEO. He'll have something in his head already about the really massive change of aerodynamics that go with the new power units for 2026. So I'd be absolutely sure that big picture stuff, he'll have a lot of critical ideas, and every so often he'll just knock something in here and there that'll make the difference. And also, he's ruthless. If Adrian wants something, he will get it, even if it seems impossible time-wise or absolutely impossible budget-wise. He will persist until he gets what he knows is right, and that's why you need a team of some might and to make the best use of him.
Well, Craig, that probably explains why they've spent so much money getting him there, Aston Martin. Just remind us of the figures and how that compares to their rivals.
Yeah, and picking up on what Martin says, he's ruthless. He also has an ego, Adrian Newey. He wants to be paid what he thinks he is worth. And it was interesting when he became on the job market, when he announced his departure from Red Bull around the time of the Miami Grand Prix in May. There was an assumption he would go to Ferrari. And then we heard that Mercedes were interested, that Williams were also keen on him. McLaren wanted to maybe take him back as well. Alpine put in a late bid. What a number of those teams explained to me was they did not want to get into a bidding war for Adrian Newey because they knew his salary expectations would be big. So you wonder if, even at the amount of money he is being paid, which I understand to be a basic salary in excess of £20 million, rising towards £30 million if bonuses are factored in, if he gains the success he has previously, then that, I think Martin once explained, is money, well, which sees him grossly underpaid for what he contributes to the overall operation. So it puts him in a bracket with the very top drivers. Only Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are paid significantly more than that in terms of those competing on the current grid. Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City manager, is paid less than Adrian Newey. So Formula One nowadays, because we have the cost cap, is as much about people as investment. And Newey just has this three-dimensional and big picture way of seeing a car design project. He can solve problems and he can come up with concepts ahead of others. And since he has stopped day-to-day work at Red Bull, we've seen how they seem to be unable to respond and fix some issues which have come up with their car. So I think they believe this is money well spent at Aston Martin, and maybe even at the kind of sums I've mentioned, they've got a bargain here.
OK, and Martin, if I could just finish with you. One person no doubt celebrating in all this is Fernando Alonso. Is this his chance for that elusive third title, do you think?
Ooh, that's it'll take time for Aston Martin to get back to the front and then regularly winning and then challenging for a world championship. So Fernando's 41 years old. Whether he's still fast enough and around at that time when it all comes together, we know he's pretty relentless in terms of his enthusiasm and his never say die attitude on the racetrack. But the answer has to be yes, providing Fernando is there when and if the magic happens.
And if I could put one last question to you, Martin, from here at this team base, what price do you think? We know that Max Verstappen, yes, he'll be at Red Bull next year. We know Mercedes are interested in him. What about the potential for Aston Martin to potentially attract Verstappen down the line? If Newey builds the best car, the best drivers tend to follow. Do we have to maybe look at this team as a possible destination for Max maybe in a couple of years from now?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing with somebody like Newey. You're going to also then attract the star players, the star drivers who want to be part of that. And that's why there's no price list for Formula One drivers, Premiership footballers, or the likes of Adrian Newey. You're worth what somebody's prepared to pay you. Lawrence Stroll didn't become a billionaire because he's careless or frivolous with money. He knows what he's spending. And I think you're absolutely right, Craig. It will help attract other talent as well and focus and sponsors and believe investors in the team. So, it could end up, as you say, actually being a bargain, providing the car goes fast. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. What the stopwatch says. All of the rest is just noise.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, great to speak to both of you. Thank you very much, Martin, and also to Craig.